Okay, you should have out your clean piece of notebook paper if you'll get it titled and dated. This is one of the last things that we have to do before we are going to be ready to start reviewing for our next unit test. Okay, so section 2.9 is dealing with percents and the percent proportion. So we've been dealing with proportions. We did proportion word problems, and we just did proportions that were already set up for us, and we were finding the unknown. This is still setting up a proportion, but we're going to set up a percent proportion. Okay, there's a certain formula for it. All right, the percent proportion is going to be is over of is equal to percent over 100. So, for instance, if I said, what is 25% of the number 20, we could plug in what we know into this problem and find out what we don't know. For example, it says, what percent of 56 is 42? Okay. So, first of all, I always look for in these problems, what are we looking for? So it says what percent. So percent's going to be our unknown. So when we're setting up this proportion, 100 is always, 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 always going to already be there, and it's always going to be in the same spot. Okay, percent is, or 100 is always in this exact same spot in these proportions. Since I don't know what the percent is my unknown. So that means on top of 100 is going to be my unknown. So I can use a variable there. So then we kind of have to just pay attention to our words. It says, what percent of 56? So of 56, 56 goes in my of spot, is 42. So 42 goes in my is spot. Once you've done that, you've set up a proportion to cross multiply and divide like we've been doing. Then we divide by 56. So 4,200 divided by 56, we get 75. Now be careful, because on this problem, the question asked what percent. So our final answer is 75%. You have to label. If it is asking you what is the percent, you have to label with the percent symbol. All right, let's look at a couple other ones. Make sure you're writing down these problems in your notes. That way you have examples to go back and look at. So 125% of what number is 17.5? So I always start off with setting up my proportion and filling in the 100. Then I go back through the word problem and I figure out what they've given me and what my unknown is. So 125%, so that's clearly in the percent spot, of what number? So of what number? We don't know that number. That's our unknown. So in the of spot is going to be our variable. Is 17.5. 17.5 times 100. 17.5 times 100 is 1,750. Divide by 125. I get x is equal to 14. Since this is not a percent problem, 14 is my final answer. I don't have to have a label on that one. Let's look at another one. What is 32% of 125? So we set up our proportion. The 100 always goes in the same spot. So it says, what is? So what is what I don't know. So is going to be what I don't know. 32% of 125. Cross multiply. 4,000 divided by 100. X is equal to 40. Guys, you can always still check these. So if I put 40 in for X and I take 40 divided by 125, I get 32 hundredths, 0.32. If I take 32 divided by 100, I get 32 hundredths, 0.32. So I know I'm right when I get my answer of 40. What percent of 6.3 is 3.5? So my 100 goes here. What percent? So percent's going to be my unknown. Of 6.3 is 3.5. So 6.3 is of, 3.5 is. So 3.5 times 100. It's 350 divided by 6.3. We get a repeating decimal. Always, 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 always round to the nearest tenth, unless the paper tells you otherwise. So I would get 55.6. It's a percent question, so my final answer is 55.6%. Okay, I'm going to give you, hopefully that was enough examples. I feel like this is a pretty easy concept. It's just all about paying attention to the wording and which numbers they're giving us and where do we need to place them, okay? I'm going to give you 3 examples. You need to do those 3 examples on your paper. And then you will need to show me those 3 examples in order to be able to get your worksheet for today. Okay, so I'll need to see those problems that we did in the video and then these 3 examples with the correct answer. When you're done with those, you will raise your hand and I will call you up to see your answers. And then if you are good to go, I will give you your worksheet